And that's what this is. It's a shift out of mind and into living from the fullness of your being. And it doesn't mean you can't have thoughts. It doesn't mean that the mind is bad or wrong. As I was driving up here today, I was coming up the hill and I saw this little girl on a bike, and she was just riding her bike down the hill on the bike trail. And I saw this big buck come out of the bushes. And the two of them were on a collision course, where the buck was, the buck couldn't see her because the bushes were in the way. She couldn't see him. And just for a brief moment, right before they hit, the buck saw her and just jumped back. And then, he went on his way. And then she looked over her shoulder and saw him and then just kept pedaling. And so in that moment, their two egos came head to head. And their egos did something beautiful. It enacted the fight or flight response. And then the two of them immediately went back to the space of presence. She smiled and, enjoyed riding her bike down the hill. And the buck went back just to living in the innocence of, his mind. And if you ever sit with a deer or, animals in nature, you can feel into their mind. And the minds of deers are just so innocent. It's really profound. And so we don't have to fight with our ego. We don't have to control it. We don't have to say it's bad. We don't have to try to cut it out of our body or act like it's a bad thing. It's a creation of divinity. It's a level of consciousness. You don't have to have a war with it. But we also don't have to fully identify with it. If you've ever been in a car with someone who's like ridiculously anxious, and they're driving the car. And I can think of a couple individuals in my life, and they just like slam on the brakes, and it's like everyone in the body just starts, everyone in the car, gets really tense, just like, geez, and the way they're whipping around turns and, fighting with the traffic. In a real sense, like that's what an ego's like when it's out of control. But occasionally, I've had the courage enough to be like, hey, how about you let me drive? How about you let me drive? And then I took the driving wheel. But just did so from a place of peace, a sense of gentleness, from a sense of smoothness. There was a sense of relief to my nervous system. It was actually a sense of relief to their nervous system. They said, geez, I hate driving. I don't want to drive. Like, okay, good. Why don't you sit, shotgun and just relax? In a real sense, this is what we're inviting with spiritual awakening, is we're inviting a greater aspect of being just to take over the steering wheel. If we're a good Buddhist, we call this true nature. If we're a good Christian, we might call this God. If we live in a total state of non-duality, we call it both. True nature and God are one. We let go into something higher. Something higher. But that requires that we let go of the steering wheel. Let go. And so anyways, while you're on retreat, and the great challenge is for the rest of your life, can you let go of the steering wheel? And let something higher live through you. Something divine, something holy. Something silent and spacious and peaceful. Let it live through you. You begin to notice the quality of thoughts will change in your mind. It will become more in alignment with that which is greater. But if you hold on to that steering wheel really tightly, intensely, the quality of your thoughts will reflect that tension. Will reflect survival mind or fighting mind or angry mind or whatever kind of mind. So